Yeah.
So
And
wait,
plus, with
yeah.
the advent of digital technology, it was easier to print comics in full color na, with a full spectrum of brilliant colors.
They
Right.
were
It just became
limited.
cheaper.
But they were limited to particular colors before. It was the basic
Yes.
colors. It was red, blue, and flat. There were no shadows.
Yes. Yes.
But
And
how's
people had to.
okay? Here's a classic. Well, look at that, right?
Mhm.
X-Men. Is this a before and after? Then and now.
Yeah.
Okay. So yeah, man. Like even the women, they look really voluptuous.
they always do.
Well,
They always have. In
they
comic
always have.
books, they always have.
Yeah.
Oh,
It's mainly because a lot of these creators are men.
yeah.
So so it boils down to their power fantasies and whatever. So of course they want their women to be voluptuous, unrealistically so.
All right.
We start.
All set?
Okay, all set. So this
right.
is Gross Talk episode number 13, and with us is Adrian Arcega. Arcega, yes.
Yes.
Yeah, we
Adrian
always have to check if we pronounce the names correctly.
Arcega. Okay. Hi,
Yes,
Adrian. Of course,
hello. Hi,
John
everyone.
Joe. He's the guy who took you over here. I mean, there's so much to
Yes.
learn. I've been asking him loads and loads of questions. He said, "Look, why don't we just make an episode out of this? Because there's just, this topic can go so many different directions, right?"
Yeah.
So yeah, maybe to start off with, Adrian, what is it that you do? I mean, you have a lot of different facets, right? So from your core business and to your passions and whatnot. Go ahead.
Wow. Okay. Where do I start? Session na, I haven't had sleep, so parang
No problem.
I'm trying to wrap my head around that question, especially that question. Yeah. Anyway, I my day job is I work as the creative director for Hypertime Creative.
Okay.
It's an online. Sorry, an online. We work online, but we are a creative agency based here in the south. Like
Right.
all of us are, we're based in the south, and we do videos. Well, these days we're doing a TV show right now, and among other projects. And there's that. On the side, I run Nerd Rage PH. Uh,
Okay.
it's it's both a website, so you can visit it at nerdrageph.com, and a Facebook channel, and we do live streams there as well. We actually did live streams until a couple of years ago, and then we stopped a bit, and then we resumed live streams again this year because our first event, Nerdfest, which John Joe was supposed to help host, didn't push through because of this situation.
Yeah, man.
We're supposed to have this guy over here coming to the country.
Oh, okay.
Um,
Who's that guy?
it's Brandon Routh.
Yeah,
Oh, there you
Brandon
go.
Routh.
Okay. I didn't see his head. Sorry.
The first, he's the modern day Superman before the Snyder Superman,
Okay,
before The
yeah.
Witcher.
Okay.
Yeah. So yeah, he was supposed to be here, but yeah, again, this whole situation happened, so we didn't push through this year. But we had Nerdfest online,
Right.
so we put our program online, turned it into an online convention, and we did it the weekend of May 9 and 10th.
Uh-huh.
And yeah, we had panels the whole 2 days. Well, not at
Wow.
night, but
Yeah.
from noontime all the way until the evening, we had continuous panels, which was the plan anyway for the real version of the event. So other than Nerd Rage PH, I also run Geekery, Geekery with an IE.
Okay.
It's the toy business I started with my wife many years ago when she still wasn't my wife.
And you make these toys? You make these toys or
We import them.
Oh, okay.
We import. We consider ourselves a geek lifestyle shop.
And
We're
Okay.
based online, but people usually see us in conventions when we
No,
have our
there's
pop-up
nothing
shops.
wrong with geeks. You know, there are geeks in every different facet of life. Like there are
Yes.
geeks in craft beer, there's geeks in craft spirits, there's geeks, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And this is, you know, what we're I mean, this whole Comic Con toys,
Yeah.
there's obviously the people who are in the know. So
And
yeah,
and
absolutely
for
nothing wrong with the word geek.
Oh,
with
definitely these days, not
yeah,
anymore.
with geekery, I could also say it's curated. It's kind of like craft. Their store, diba?
Yes.
It's
Yeah.
not the typical toys that you would find in mall stores. It's
No.
more
Okay.
of specialized. Like you guys specialized on Doctor Who, diba?
Yeah, and I noticed that we were the first guys to sell Doctor Who stuff here in the country until a friend of mine who's a partner in one of the bigger comic book shops passed by our booth, and he asked, "Hey, what are the big things these days when it comes to collectibles?" And me being a nice guy told him, "Hey, Doctor Who's big." And their store started selling Doctor Who also. So my wife was furious at me when they started advertising that they're selling Doctor Who. But the nice thing about our
So
pop up,
you're doing sorry
yeah,
you're going back. You have the services, you know, the on not online, but you do production and filming. Then
yeah,
then you do the toy importation,
mm-hmm.
right? And then what was the other one?
uh, Nerd Rage,
Okay,
my channel and website.
so it's your channel, okay?
Yeah.
And basically, what core topics do you all on the geekery, on the toys and all the comics and things like that?
Well, for our website, yeah, we cover a lot of the local geek scene, but we
Right.
try to avoid being just your usual lifestyle content content creators.
Okay.
Oh yeah,
Oh, there
so
it is.
yeah,
There it is.
that's
So that's
geekery.
your site. Okay, there
That
you
yeah,
go.
that's our shop. That's
So that's the
geekery.
merch. That's the merchandise, which
Yeah,
includes toys and T-shirts, if I'm not
t-shirts.
mistaken.
Yes, and those
You
t-shirts we design. Or well, yeah, we designed them. I designed them,
Okay.
and I conceptualize them with my wife sometimes. So these are
That's
original
pretty
designs.
cool.
Well, except for the police box over there,
Yeah.
which apparently is
Yeah.
owned by the British government.
Okay.
wait. Okay, because actually, I've attended the Great British Day. It's a festival that they have in BGC,
Yeah.
and it's all Doctor Who. Because all of a sudden, there's a rise in Doctor Who. Now, a lot of people don't know that Doctor Who is the oldest running television show in history
Hmm.
among
Hmm.
all television shows.
Interesting stuff. Good, but I want to go all the way back. I mean, where this all began, because I think, you know, we've kind of, I mean, the US, San Diego, kind of started the seed, right?
Hmm.
And so basically, I need, sorry, screen share, por favor. Okay, here we go. Um,
SDCC.
yeah, so I wanted to show, we start with, obviously, the San Diego Comic Con, right?
Hmm.
This I didn't know it's all the way back in the 30s, right? And they started off in the 30s. Tell me about this whole community, how it began, and and this thing started going global, right?
Hmm.
So do they have like a global franchise in every country, or they're very particular about their own franchise?
Well, yeah, as you said, these conventions have been happening since not even the 30s, even way back. Not necessarily sci-fi, but we knew them as world expos of whatever. Expos of these fans of certain literature, comic books, and even in the 30s to the 40s, National Comics, which eventually became DC Comics, had these events around their characters in New York, like say Superman. So we've always had these congregations of not fanatics, but aficionados of literature, of comics, and all that. But in the 70s, they started what we now know as the San Diego Comic Con.
Okay.
And
Okay.
it just started from what I can recall. It started as, one of these small hotel-based events attended by only a few hundred people,
Mhm.
where you can have comic book writers, artists. Basically, it's the same concept until now.
Yeah.
Comic book writers, artists, sci-fi authors, and all that. Um, and it grew a very solid following. And of course, the 70s was post Star Trek, and there were already hardcore fans of Star Trek around that time.
Right.
So they were also congregating in that
Mhm.
in that
And even
community.
that early, they were already cosplaying at these events. So,
Yes,
diba? The
yes,
So
cosplay thing
so
is not a new phenomenon.
so here you have Marvel, you have DC, you have them all there in one roof, under one roof. So it
mm,
depends on what you really like. You know what I mean? You go
Mhm.
to that section, but it's like it does not. There's no polarization between DC, Marvel, or anything like that. I mean, you'll have your if you're an aficionado of, let's say, one type of comics
Mhm.
and superheroes. I mean, is there like a cult following where it's really clearly polarized, or people just go here, they have fun, they can cross over? How does it work?
well, away from these events, well, like with the thing with human nature is that when you group people according to tribes, there will be a bit of polarization involved, because that's how humans sadly are.
Yeah.
There's the notorious schism was the Star Wars versus the Star Trek guys,
Yeah.
even in
Yes,
the US,
yes.
because which is really silly, because parang what's it about? Is it which group has the better franchise with the word star in it? It's
Mhm.
really silly if you think about it.
It's grown ass men playing with plastic toys.
Yeah, di ba? Parang which toys are better? Really
Mhm.
silly. Although here in the Philippines we don't have that. Although we trade jokes with there's a local Star Trek club here called Via Asterisk, but I think they're now officially Star Trek Philippines. And
Okay.
I was one of the founding members of Star Wars Philippines back in 2002.
Wow.
So
Okay. Okay.
yeah, and we met up with the Star Trek guys, and the Star Trek guys were understandably older because of the nature of their franchise. So we traded jokes with them about their age.
Mga tito.
Yeah, titos na yun by even during those times. No? So parang like we joke na, hey, let's have a Star Wars versus Star Trek fan club basketball game. And then, of course, the Trekkies would turn us down because heart problems and all that. So we'd have the occasional bowling tournament with them, or whatever. And
But is
even at one
it
point,
yeah, good.
because since like as I said earlier, I was one of the founding members of Star Wars Philippines. There was a time that we gate crashed the Star Trek Philippines Christmas party in Star Wars costume.
Oh, wow.
Just
There was no
for fun.
violence, I hope, huh?
No violence. It just so happened that we came from an event right before. So we thought, hey, the Trekkies are having a party tonight, and we're in costume, so let's gate crash them. So we arrived there in full outfits, and the Trekkies were like, all right, nice one, guys.
You should have come in with the song. Dun, 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 dun.
Yeah, but good
But so
times,
I
good
mean,
times.
it's I can imagine. So every year it's been going through, and then John Joe, it's canceled now, right? So what's
Yeah,
Mhm.
everyone doing? It's not the same, right? How do you
no,
go
it's
to
not.
different booths? How do you? There are no more meetups. It's been canceled. What do people do during this time just to get their, to scratch their itch, so to speak?
Well, the nice thing about geeks and nerds is that everybody's online. So
Yeah, that's right. That's
yeah,
right.
and we don't want to be separated from our devices and our workstations. So there's been a lot of online conventions these days. Here in the country, the first guys to do that in April was Comic Con with a K, the
Mhm.
Okay.
indie comics guys here. So they were supposed to have an event at Bayanihan Center in last April, but that didn't push through. So they proceeded with doing Comic Con with a K, Comic Con
Okay.
online.
Right.
And me being friends with them and also a fan of their concept, I checked out their panels. They did it Facebook via Facebook, and
Okay.
they're interviewing people, talking to people. You know, the way we started doing when this whole quarantine started, and also around that time, friends were suggesting to me to since our Nerd Fest event got canceled this year, friends were suggesting that I do it online too.
Right.
So what I did was like I think I had 3 weeks to plan out the online event. So we did Nerdfest online, got some of the panels that we were trying to develop, place them online. And the nice thing about being doing these things on Zoom is that everyone's online. So what's everyone gonna do? So it was easier in a sense to get guests and panelists for that event. So I got to talk with the creators and the filmmakers behind the local sci-fi film Alimuom, Keith Sikat
Okay.
and Sari Dalana, and with their cast, we got them there.
I gotta ask you. I gotta ask you. Just on the Philippine animation of superheroes and whatnot and comic strips, who was the pioneer behind this, and what year did it come about?
Sorry.
Who was the pioneer in Philippine comics, like for superheroes at least? Because you have Philippine comics that's romanza and all this stuff, right?
So
It's like, you know what I mean, right? But I'm talking about superheroes, right? The guys, you know
Right.
what I mean, like our own Superman, our own Batman, and but
Mhm.
it's local.
Mhm.
Is there like somebody who jumps out? Is there a name that everyone respects in the Philippine scene?
Actually, it's well, to my knowledge, there's a lot of great creators from that era, but to my knowledge, it's Mars Ravelo, the
yeah.
Okay.
creator of Darna and Captain Barbell.
Wow.
And
So he was like the pioneer. He just said, "I'm gonna make my own characters," and he
yeah,
started. What
yeah.
year was this? Well, this sounds really like what, 70s, 80s, or
Oh,
even before that?
60s, diba? 40s ba?
50s,
50s.
50s.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's pretty cool.
50s.
Wow,
And
Really?
then,
kaya na I forget because I actually wrote a paper about this. But
That's
um,
pretty cool. Captain Barbell and Darna.
yeah,
yeah.
and
And
actually
they,
not even Darna. Before Darna, there was Varga. Varga
What?
was Mars
Okay, that's
Ravelo's.
somebody
I
new,
didn't even
man.
know that.
I
Yeah.
didn't even know what the hell's Varga. What was that?
She was the prototype of Darna. Same creator, Mars Ravelo. Woman with powers, both inspired by Wonder Woman.
That's what I
Um,
was gonna say, right? It's such a knockoff. I mean, I'm not, shitting on anyone, right? But
Mm.
it's so similar, man. It's just so similar, isn't it? I
Well,
mean,
a lot of cultures have that comic book hero that reflects yun nga, the male and female protagonist.
mm,
okay.
And then what happened with the Philippine culture is that they use the anting-anting or the agimat. So Darna has the bato that she eats, or the diamante. And then Captain Barbell has the barbell, which was
yeah,
like a common thing you would be
yeah.
finding in Filipino. It's everyone can have it. Superman, you're an alien. You can never be an alien. But you can always be that lucky, simple guy who finds that anting-anting. And then all of a sudden, you're bequeathed this responsibility
Yeah.
to use that power for good or evil.
And the inspiration for Captain Barbell and Darna, it was partially Superman and Wonder Woman, but the core concept came from Shazam.
Shazam, yeah. That's what I was.
Captain Marvel. So
Oh,
we had
wow.
Captain Marvel, Shazam, and Mars Ravelo went Captain Barbell.
Oh, there he is. There he is.
So, well, we actually borrowed it. I think, if I recall correctly, Mars Ravelo was exposed to those comics because of the American soldiers that were going here.
Mhm.
And
Makes sense.
then
Yeah.
again, even in American comics at the time, people were ripping each other off.
Yeah.
Superman becomes famous. Another comic book company will come up with a similar superhero. Yeah, National Comics had Superman, and Fawcett Comics had Captain Marvel, Shazam, now known as Shazam.
Interesting.
So parang
Interesting.
it's always no, parang let's come up with something better. Batman arrives and then the publisher say, "Hey, let's come up with a friendlier Batman with an arrow. Tada, green arrow."
Arrow.
So like Batman, he also has an arrow car and a sidekick. Stuff like that.
Oh.
So that tradition of ripping each other off is inherent in comics.
but obviously there was no internet then. So here comes the Americans carrying their stash of comic books and all that, and it kind of went out to the locals, and then wow, what's this, right?
Yeah.
And then they conceptualize. But we have great artists, right? I mean, some of them are just. I mean, they're in Hollywood. A lot of them are, right?
Yep.
In Filipino artists that are really just so damn creative. And now with the help of CGI and the computer, it's not anymore one page, one. It's like, right?
It still is actually.
Oh, it is.
It's still hand drawn.
Yeah.
It's still hand drawn, but they're able to make it move using the computer, I suppose. I don't know. All right.
For animation, that's called a motion comic. So motion comics, you can find on YouTube a lot of them. So that's already post-production by a different group altogether. The artists don't draw it thinking that one day they're gonna turn this into a motion comic.
Right.
Motion comic acts like flash animation. So you have a comic book panel, and then they'll slowly move the arms, the face. There are many of those now. But when it comes,
yeah, go ahead.
When it comes to animation, it's a completely different team. When they work on, like, for example, Batman cartoons, it's not really based on the comic book per se. They get a whole team of animators to redo and then pitch the idea to the owners.
I was going through this really interesting timeline of Comic-Con, right? So yeah, you got, I look at the attendance back in the 70s, right? So obviously these guys are the founders. Then it just goes, and it just breaks up like crazy in the 80s and 90s. And I noticed a lot of it has to do with Hollywood and the movies.
Yes.
So when the movies, like here, when it started hitting 100,000 attendees, you've got, Angelina Jolie with the Tomb Raider. You've got all these other, The Hobbit and all of these crazy, high budget movies, right? So it's interesting how print, went to motion picture, and motion picture influenced print.
Yes.
In a way.
Back again, right?
Yeah.
I mean, these are crazy numbers. Look at this. 2015, 167,000 people. I mean, and then, sadly, right, Stan Lee's last appearance was 2017, right? And just another trivia that I read was Stan Lee was a best friend of a former US GI by the name of Harry Stonehill. Harry Stonehill was a US GI on service in the Philippines, and he became an industrialist here, right? He was deported later on. There are all these cases, but anyway, he put up a lot of businesses, and his best friend is Stan Lee, right? And he would tell Stan Lee, you better come to the Philippines with me because they don't even have a Christmas card over there. So he was trying to tell him during the war, there's so much opportunity, right? And in this book that I was reading on his biography, that he said, no, I'll pass, I'll stay here and do my work. I enjoy it. But yeah, that was Stan Lee. So interesting how, so where is it headed? I mean, John Joe, music. Okay, we went from the tapes to the CDs, to the large CDs, to the 8-tracks, to the CDs, and then vinyl. Vinyl disappears, and then now it's back. I mean, how about the comics society? How about the comics industry? Is it a steady eddy, or is it like, what's going on in that industry?
Ains, you want to take this?
All right, okay, sure. The interesting thing about this whole industry is that if you notice, Hollywood companies now own the intellectual properties of a lot of these comic book characters. Disney now owns Marvel Comics. Marvel Entertainment.
Oh, so they acquired. Okay,
they acquired them in I think around 2010, 2009.
Yeah.
Thereabouts.
After the Iron Man movie.
Yeah, after the Iron Man movie. Meanwhile, Warner Brothers currently owns DC Comics. DC
Okay.
Entertainment now. It's now DC Entertainment. Even then, AT&T bought Warner Brothers. So now it's Warner Media. So
So
there's
it's a whole basket of all these different
yeah.
media companies inside
Yes.
an umbrella organization.
Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly. And it's all about developing intellectual properties that they got from all these comic books. And that's just the big two. We're not even talking about the independent comic
Yeah.
creators. There's Netflix and Amazon, they're always
Mhm.
ready to pounce on these smaller properties.
Yeah. So
Plus
the
they're cheaper to make.
boys,
Yeah.
So they got the boys and the other shows that are there.
Yeah.
You know, I'm just shocked at just
Mhm.
this is just a simple bar graph of just comic sales. I'm not even putting toys in there. This is $1 billion industry, man.
Yes,
I'm
it
just
Yeah.
is.
I'm just mind blown, right?
But
Because
mhm.
maybe because I don't see it, because
Yeah.
I'm not a part of that circle, I don't see it, right? So how do you buy comics nowadays? I mean, shops like yours, Adrian, or are there specialty stores? Is it Amazon? Where do people go now? These
Well,
conferences?
Well, you can still buy comic books at comic book shops
Mhm.
or bookstores. But the funny thing is that comic book sales, like the floppy ones, I don't have one with me right now. It's in the
Oh,
other room.
yeah, I
But the
have a
floppy
bunch.
comics, the ones
Yeah.
that the thin ones,
Uh-huh.
sales of those comics are down.
Yeah.
They're
Actually,
down.
I was gonna point at that graph because it's actually it's a mistake not going back to the 90s, boss. You mentioned the 90s. The 90s was the peak of single comic selling issues. And what happened was it actually this I'm looking at it now, it's already at 805 million in 2012.
Mhm.
1997 to 1998, that's probably zero.
Yeah.
No way.
There was a giant drop in the 90s because they attempted to make movies out of comics and 99.9% was crap. So when it then translate to movies, the value of comics disappeared. Now it has a
Yeah.
resurgence, but they're making a resurgence on graphic novels,
Right.
compiled versions of the comic books. So
So
these
let me ask you this, guys. You guys, since you're both at it, right? I mean, there are people who read the book Tolkien, right? The Hobbit, you know what I
Mhm.
mean? Lord of the Rings, right?
Mhm.
Or probably follow, I don't know, Superman or Batman in comics. And then here comes the movie.
Mhm.
What does I mean? Does the movie shit on the freaking comics or the book? I hear two schools of thought. Oh, you should have read the book. It's way better. The comic
Oh.
strip is way better. I mean,
Mhm.
you know what I mean? Even with all the CGI and all the effects,
Mhm.
I can't for the life of me, some guy just says, dude, the book is just way better. I mean,
Those are
is that
snobs. Those guys are snobs. Okay, one thing is that's never gonna that argument will always be around.
Mhm.
The nice thing about movies, comic books, turning literary pieces into movies is that there is I guess it's a re-upload, a republishing of the book covers. So, like for example, this Transmetropolitan, if it's turned into a movie, it will have the picture, movie poster, and then now a major motion picture movie.
Mhm.
So then,
okay?
then these start the new ones, the new covers, same contents, but the new covers that are reprinted, mass produced, are now in shelves. So then you have a new audience buying it again.
But correct me if I'm wrong, but right now it seems like more and more movies are coming online from the written pieces, right?
Right.
Mhm.
I
Right.
mean, you've got the Marvels, you've got the DC, all these superheroes that I didn't even know existed because I'm not a comic reader, right? They're
Yeah.
all showing up. They're all showing up, right?
Mhm.
And they're even saying one day they're gonna have the two of them just meet in
Oh yeah,
one
they,
movie.
they they actually do in the comics.
Yes.
There is Marvel versus X-Men. There's Marvel versus DC. Those
Mhm.
things actually exist, but
Will
it
that
took
ever happen in the movies?
if they're
Well,
bought by the same person.
yeah,
Yeah, it's
because
gonna
it's gonna
happen.
be hard to for two big juggernauts to partner because they will all it's going to be about the bottom line and who will get the bigger
Yeah.
share and all that. So
Right,
there's
right.
gonna be a lot
It's
of
all about
conversation.
this, right? It's all
Yeah.
about the dinero, right?
It's
Yeah.
always been about that, especially now that they acquired all these properties.
Mhm.
So it's
Yeah.
really now easy pickings. You can easily make content based on the comic books. You don't have to spend decades or you don't have to spend much to
Mhm.
develop a film because the property is there. So you just
Guys,
have to
show.
translate it.
See, look at
Can you
that.
translate this pie chart? Because it's interesting, right? It basically shows the different slices of
Mhm.
who gets what. Now,
Mm-hmm.
it says 25.9% is juvenile fiction.
Mm-hmm.
That's
Comics.
that's called YA, young
Yeah,
adult.
young
So
adult.
that's The Hunger Games, Twilight,
Harry
Maze,
Potter.
Harry Potter, Maze Runner. It's
Mm.
those types. So you have a typical female who needs saving, and then they go through a fantastic
So
journey.
that's your G in a movie, right? General
Yeah,
patronage.
yeah. That's why it's
Okay.
called YA, young adult.
Okay, and then you've got what's this manga, the comics
Uh,
and graphic novels.
mhm.
What are those?
Oh, well, manga is just basically comics made in Japan.
Mhm.
So that's Japanese.
Yeah.
Yeah,
That's
and
not US.
Japanese and Chinese, and then when it becomes anime, it's based on the manga. They never say based on the comic book.
Yeah, yeah.
Like
Okay.
famous mangas, Live, Die, Repeat with Tom Cruise. They have another name for it, Edge of Tomorrow.
Yes, yes.
Snowpiercer was also a manga.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, Akira and a lot of other, well, yeah,
But I
mangas.
mean, but people, do you like cross over? Like Adrian, when you started your journey into comics, right? What was your first one? Do you remember buying your first, or were you given your first comic and you said, dude, I gotta get into this? I
Uh,
mean,
huh.
what
You
was
know
it
what's
like?
funny? Ano, my first exposure to comics was via the Daily Express. Haha, you guys remember that?
Daily Express.
Yeah, yeah, because I grew up reading the comic section with Spider-Man and Superman,
Black
I think.
Panther. Black Panther
Yeah,
was
Black
always,
Panther.
and even Manila Bulletin, you'd have Black
Yeah,
Panther.
yeah. But in my case, it was
Oh.
really the Daily Express because we used to buy a lot of that. We used to buy that every day. So there was Spider-Man and Superman. Also, my mom was the scriptwriter of the Superman 3 TV special here. I think they had the TV special for that. So my mom had a lot of Superman material at home. So I just I was being the precocious kid messing with her research material. So
There's always that influence, right?
yeah,
Growing up, there's always that influence, whether it's a best friend
yeah,
or your barcada or whatever, or
yeah.
your mother, right?
Yeah,
Had to
and
be your
her
mom.
work actually. So
Her work.
I was just fascinated with the colors and the pictures, and I wanted more of it. And then I think in Daily Express every Sunday their comic strips get colored. So Sunday, I always looked forward to Sundays because
Because
the
it's like it comes
Sundays.
alive with the color,
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
Yeah, yeah.
That's-
And it's really evolved, right? I mean, John Joe showed me a really old 1930s what do you call that? What was that comic strip? That one. The
Action
action comic.
comics.
Yeah. Wow, right? That's like unreal, right? And then now how things are, it's like even the action scenes
Yeah.
in print are so vivid.
If
You know?
movies have improved on CGI, comics have improved on color shading.
Yes.
So now, like when somebody fires a blast, it's not like colored in blast. It's like it has like luminescent effects and like lens blur, a lens flare, and all that stuff already.
Yeah. Yeah.
So
And
wait.
plus, with the
Yeah.
advent of digital technology, it was easier to print comics in full color na, with a full spectrum of brilliant colors.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
They were
It just became
limited,
cheaper.
but they were limited to particular colors before. It was the basic
Yes.
colors. It was red, blue, and flat. There were no shadows.
Yes, yes.
But how
People had to.
okay, here's a classical. Well, look at that, right?
Mhm.
X-Men, is this a before and after? Then and now, okay. So yeah, man. Like even the women, they look really voluptuous.
they always
Well,
they always have. In
they
comic
always
books,
have
they
it.
always have.
Yeah. It's mainly because a lot of these creators are men.
Yeah.
So so it boils down to their power fantasies and whatever. So of course they want their women to be voluptuous, unrealistically so
Unreal.
at
Yeah.
times.
Now here's the thing. When I saw this, I was just cracking up, man. Are you a Comic Con dork? But it's unreal because I was like, look at this, John Joe. This is like a typical San Diego Comic Con consumption.
Oh yeah. Even in conventions here, that's
dogs,
no.
freaking pizza, man.
Yeah.
I think half of those would come from us, dude.
And in foreign Comic Cons, they actually have liquor already. In fact, if Nerdfest continued, we would have actually had the Crow's booth.
Yeah.
Oh, that
So
would have been
it's-
cool.
Because
That
these
would've been cool.
in these conventions, it's really hanging out. It's not like you hang out in a diner where it's burgers and sodas. So
Mhm.
now it's improving because some collectors, some geeks have turned into scotch drinkers, beer drinkers, and they like to discuss comics with a little bit of hooch.
Yeah.
It makes it
You know what?
interesting also.
I wanna get into and learn more about the toys, right? So okay, enough of the comics, right? The toys, because I was shocked when John Joe told me some of these things go for what, $500, $600. I
Yeah.
mean, I just for the life of me can't get that. What? Okay, how did this all begin? Is it like limited to the point that they only make 100 of them, and that's the reason why there's just so much demand and so little supply? Or is it because it's the person behind or who created it? Tell us about these toys.
Well, they really depend on the intent of the franchise involved. They make they make action figures, or they make toys or dolls, if you may, because well, people just want a keepsake of a fandom that they want.
Mhm.
Of course, back in the day, toys were just that, toys for kids. But these kids that loved these toys grew up, and now they run the show. And because they grew up with these toys, they now are releasing toys that have a bit of self-importance to them. They're now releasing them as collectibles. So now these toys are expensive, and they buy like those or they produce those big ones, statues of Superman or of the Hulk. Not even this. We have full sized life size
Busts,
statues, or even
yeah.
more. The busts are expensive. We now have a generation.
I don't know if you know my friend Romel Sales. He's in
not
BF
personally.
Home. Yeah, he has this thing that looks like, I mean, he's obsessed with Superman, right? And he buys all these freaking costumes and statues and whatever. Everything is like mostly DC stuff, right?
Wait, sorry,
But-
Romel Sales, is he the guy that owns Action Cafe in BF?
Yeah, that's him.
Oh yeah, I've been there. I've met him na pala.
He's my
I've met him.
classmate, right? And the guy loves Superman. He keeps wearing a Superman underneath his. I mean, I was with him all college, right? And so, and then, yeah, every time he puts himself up in FB, he's got a costume on, right? Or when a movie comes up, he's always dressed in, in those things, right? And he's invested a lot in these things.
Yeah.
Those things are pricey, man.
Yeah,
They're
because
really
people
pricey.
buy them. Again,
Yeah.
it's the generation of people. Us, we grew up watching He-Man. We grew up with the explosion of pop culture, the likes
Yeah.
of which we've never seen before. We had Superman the movie, and we had Michael Keaton's Batman coming out, and these people who grew up in that era are now, I hate to use the word, but they're the influencers now. They're the
Right.
ones with power. They're the ones with money. They run the industries these days. So of course some people might say, oh, so a generation of man children.
But I mean,
there's an
what
argument
are these
for
toys?
that.
Are these like, you have the different Japanese anime toys? You've got the US ones, right? I mean, which are basically the characters, whether they're Marvel or DC or X-Men. But then you have these small figurines, right? These are the ones that cost. We were just looking at it. You want to pull it up?
The Funkos.
Yeah,
Oh,
the
Funkos.
Funkos. What's
I
up
have
with
one.
that? How did that start? I mean, this guy, whoever started,
he's-
I mean, this guy, he's, okay,
Yeah.
correct me if I'm wrong, right? But he's got every character there is. So he's what? He's paid for the license of all of these characters, and he said, I'm going to put them all in the same look, that head, that
Yeah.
body shape,
Yeah.
and that's it. Right? Is that what I mean? This guy's brilliant. He made a full business. I'm actually looking for the crow. Okay, I found one in Lazada.
The Brandon Lee Crow.
Yeah, the crow. Man, I want to have that crow, right? So what do you call that? So okay, so this guy, is he an American? Is he Japanese? What's the story behind this funky?
I'm not knowledgeable with that. But I know for a fact that the Funko guys are associated with the Toy-Con people, the Toy-Con organizers here. So they have an ongoing partnership. So I just don't know how that all started. To be honest, at first they looked very boutique,
Yeah.
and then they got big, and now there's a Funko for everything now.
Yeah,
And,
they're the giant size.
Yeah, and
They have it like life size.
to be honest, I personally don't understand it anymore. It's gotten excessive,
Yeah,
I guess.
it's gotten out of control because
Yeah.
every single thing you're looking for is there. But there
Yes.
was one we were checking, Iken, right? There was one that cost like a ridiculous amount of money. What was that? That Funko there. I think is that the one?
No, it said that
Super.
the Stan Lee, metallic Stan Lee,
Oh,
was
because it's
like
metallic. Okay, but it's metallic
99,999.
because it's already considered. It's considered a work of art. Now, Funkos
Holy shit! man.
normally have they don't have how many are made. Okay, so this one is just like a standard Funko. Is yours what's yours, Adrian? Is that
It's a Batman Forever. Oh, nipples. Okay, it's a Batman
Yeah.
Forever special Funko to celebrate the 80th anniversary of Batman.
Okay,
So-
so then each toy has a specialty. If
Yeah.
you get
But
an
what is that number?
anniversary-
286.
Yeah. Okay,
Yeah,
that's
what is that number?
the pieces.
Oh,
Sorry.
Pieces made. Pieces
It
made.
depends. Like this one is actually a Japanese one. It's Hikari Funko. It's made by a Japanese artist, and he only made 66 in the world.
So, you know, John Joe, you never opened that bag.
No, it's never been open.
I'm
I'm not gonna open it.
Dude, you know what I mean? It's like people, like, it's crazy, right? I
Yeah.
remember growing up, I had, you know, my neighbor had that the Voltes 5, the one that went together, right? And you pull it
Uh-huh.
apart.
Oh
Dude,
my
there's
goodness!
Dude,
Do you know how
some-
much it is now?
I know. Who would have thought? But there's some guys who kept the damn box, man.
Yep.
They have the box. It's still, you know, pristine. But
Mhm.
toys is a big business, huh? It's just crazy. It's crazy.
And
But
now
so
he-
what happens now? People are just really collectors. I mean, they like the characters they buy, but they tend to be collectors. Yes.
Yes, like John Joe said, the people that own Voltas 5. Oh man, those original die-cast ones are, I think, 50,000 or more.
yeah, and it's not even complete parts. It's out of the box. It's
Yeah.
not even pristine. It's already that much. And some people are able to find like a wing or something, and they're still able to sell it because
Yeah.
other people
Wow.
want to complete the original. When it
My-
first came out.
Crazy.
Yeah, I have some of the original He-Man toys that I got during ToyCon. I remember as a kid that the He-Man toys used to be 150 pesos, 100 pesos. Even then, it was expensive in the early 80s na, di ba? So I lost them when I entered adolescence. My mom sold or gave away all my toys
Oh,
because you know I was a
man.
teenager, not supposed to play with toys anymore.
You're a man. You're a good man, son.
Yeah, and I discovered the guitar and you know started playing in bands and all that. Then I found the classic He-Man toys in Toy-Con, the same Mattel ones, and they already cost 5,000 pesos.
Oh man, imagine.
But
You
I had to
would have
buy
had
them. I had to ask
Yeah.
my wife's permission, of course.
that.
I had to buy them. It's a way of reclaiming my childhood, I suppose.
Yeah, yeah,
So,
yeah.
which brings us back to that argument that we are a generation of man children. There's again, I can see the validity in that, but at the same time, it's there. I can't help myself.
I mean,
So
you can't. I mean, there are people who collect stamps. I mean, I even started getting into Lego because there's nothing better to do. So put Lego and there are different sets and this and that.
Mhm.
But it's just interesting how such an industry like this, it's a billion-dollar industry, has grown. And like you said, one company buys the other, and it's a full-on entertainment thing.
mhm.
Where do you see this headed? I mean, there's going to be more mergers and acquisitions along the way, you think?
Well, yeah, definitely. But this current situation has thrown everyone into not a frenzy, but it just threw everyone out of the loop.
I think it's thrown them out of their schedule because that's
Yeah,
clearly seen in the movies. The
yeah,
movies that were supposed to be released to be the big cash cows of the year are being pushed back to
right.
2021.
And that's
So
gonna
that's
affect their value. But are
Mhm.
people still gonna wait for Wonder Woman 1984, which was
Yeah.
supposed to be out by now, and it got
Yep.
pushed back to November, December.
Mhm.
There's Dune coming out in January, so we don't know. But
Yeah.
one thing that I've observed has been happening is that uh, people are reconnecting in terms of the geek community. They're reconnecting the way they always have by going online. So there's been a consolidation of connections, and at the same time, there's been a reassessment of priorities as to how to go about it.
Mhm.
Even in
So,
San Diego
so
Comic
people
Con.
are starting to focus on certain things. You can't be everything, right? So
Yeah,
if you want to
Mm.
focus on certain things, like John Joe, I don't know what it is you focus on
It's
certain.
I call it streamlining. That's why
Yes.
this particular anime figure, I have I have one that's made of yarn. This is custom made for me. It's one in the world.
mm,
Um,
Oh,
I got a bunch of all my displays. That's why it's all red. It's all this
yeah.
particular character. So I started selling my Batmans. I started selling my Spider-Mans, and I
mm.
call it streamlining.
Okay.
Yeah, that's
So
great.
it's like when you're a Star Wars collector, you get all the toys of Star Wars. I have a friend. He collects all the ships of Star Trek. He doesn't like the figures. He doesn't like the guns.
He
It's
just
all the
wants the ships.
Just the
It's
ships.
like
Yeah.
I have
guys
a
that collect
question.
Yeah.
lightsabers.
You
Mhm.
can go ahead, man.
Go ahead.
Is there any collectible toy that both of you guys like, or this is a question for each and one of you that you guys like want to get, no matter like how expensive it is. Like if you wish you had it.
I already got mine. I already got mine. So okay. Just to give you guys an explanation. This Funko it's not available in all stores. It's kind of hard to get. It's this particular character.
What is that character?
It's from Evangelion. It's Asuka, and that's her robot. Her robot. This one I had to go to Japan to get. They don't sell
Oh,
that here,
wow.
so that's why it's my
So those things, and when you do
centerpiece.
meetups, Adrian, in these conferences or in these meetups, do
Yeah.
you bring your unique toys and then you're like, check
Oh,
this out, man? Or some dude's like, I'm looking for that, dude. I want
it's
that.
it's the buy and sell market. That's where
Yeah,
it's big.
there's that. There's
The
that.
buy and sell. You buy it. Well, you meet them online, and then say, okay, I'll buy it. I'll give you a down payment now. I'll pick it up in ToyCon.
Mhm.
So I
There's
have
that. Yeah.
Ah,
yeah. So
Sometimes naman, in my case kasi I do cosplay also. So I consider my costumes as part of my collection. And my costumes are they tend to be quite accurate. I'm a member of the local what do you call this? The local garrison of the Rebel Legion. The Rebel Legion
okay.
is an international group of Star Wars costumers. And we do
Okay.
charity appearances or appearances for events or even the film companies. And our group is founded on the idea that we should make movie accurate Star Wars costumes ourselves, or maybe with help from other people. But the point is movie accuracy. We are a spin-off group of the 501st Legion. The 501st Legion is focused on the bad guys of Star Wars.
Okay,
The
the
Rebel
Darth
Legion are focused.
Vader.
Yeah.
The stormtroopers. That's why I have the
Yeah.
helmet.
Yeah.
In my case, I'm a member of the Rebel Legion, so we do movie accurate versions of the good guy costumes.
Right.
And
right.
currently, the local commanding officer here in the country is my wife.
And the business side, you guys make money somehow, no? Well, you do charities first of all.
Yeah, we can't earn. We cannot earn
Uh,
off
so
the.
when
Oh,
you
you
make
can. Okay.
when you do appearances for movie premieres and stuff like that, whatever was your talent fee goes to charity.
Yes, they have to be. Parang at most, what we get is transpo allowance. Like a cheap gig.
Right.
Sa Giho. that sort. Because we're not allowed to earn off George Lucas's IP. Because
Of course, yeah, because that's where you're gonna infringe, right? Yeah.
technically, all these groups are infringing, but we have a relationship with Lucasfilm, so Lucasfilm lets us do it as long as we don't earn off it.
Now,
So,
let me ask you this: is there somebody who's a newbie who wants to really get back his passion from the past in movies like Star Trek, Star Wars? I mean, you're open to give advice and things like that. You have your site, right? You have your store,
yeah.
and if they can drop a line, right? Because we'll put your contact details, I mean, not your private contact, but your website and whatnot,
Yeah.
so that people can figure it out. Because the last thing you want is to get into something and then you realize you bought the wrong thing. You bought some
Or
a
replica.
Or you got sucker, dude, because they know
That happens.
you're a sucker.
Happens a
And there are
lot.
people who get suckered, right? They pay so much coin and then they realize, oh man, what the hell did I buy, right? Like, for example, there's so much shit in Lazada, you don't know whether you're buying the right thing or not, right?
That's our wedding poster.
Doctor
Who.
That's cool, man.
Yeah, our wedding was Doctor Who themed, and I had this replicated in life-size form. So regarding that question earlier about the collectibles that we want most. In my case, I do not want any. I don't want much anymore because I already had this reconstructed life size.
It's life size.
It's in our backyard.
Holy
and
shit.
and people rent it, diba? And people rent it.
Yeah, people rent the police box
That's
from Doctor
really
Who for
cool,
weddings, for
man.
events, but not in the past year. And it's my life size TARDIS has fallen into disrepair, so I need to do maintenance on it. It's like maintaining a car. I have to check up on it once in a while. Except that it doesn't really travel through time. It's just there in my backyard.
Yeah.
I swear, there's just so much to discuss. But you know what? We're moving on to another segment of the show.
Oh.
Okay, Adrian? This one's called This or That. So here, you're going to pick between this or that. There's basically one choice, and you have to make one choice only, right? So a lot of these things, John Joe picked, not me. So-
I chose these.
Okay.
What's the consequence of choosing one over the other?
No, it just
wanna
tells a lot about you.
Yeah. So this is brought to us by De Puta Madre. It's our double pay. If you haven't tried it, Adrian, we'll make sure to send you one, right? You gotta try this. I hope you're a beer drinker.
Actually, no.
Okay, well, you're gonna.
I had my
be a
days.
convert. You're gonna be a convert.
I went through a phase back when I was younger. I went through a phase of just constant beer drinking. I just got too wasted. I do remember puking my guts out in Calibar.
Oh, dude, that's a flashback location for me.
Yeah, I think I barfed on a whole table, and I remember
shit.
a similar incident at the atrium. It all involved vomit.
Here. Okay, here you go, Adrian. This or that?
Come on, that Brandon Routh.
Okay, why him?
Well, one because Brandon Routh. There's a vibe about Brandon Routh that when you look at him, he exudes that you'll be okay vibe. He seems like a chill guy. Also because he's a Democrat.
Oh, okay. Okay. So there's a political slant
Yeah,
there.
and Dean Kane has fallen off
Yeah,
his pedestal because
yeah.
he's a bit crazy.
Yeah,
Oh, shit.
he's like full on Trumper, which is
Yeah.
sad because when I met him here in ToyCon around 2017, he was a nice guy. He was a
Oh,
nice guy,
really?
and then he had his right wing meltdown on Twitter,
Yeah.
which
That's
still
it.
goes on until now. So there was even that point na ano si Brandon Routh on Twitter also threw shade at him. Kasi parang si Dean Cain said na, in today's environment, truth, justice, and the American way will not be allowed in comics anymore. And then si Brandon Roth came out with a mask saying, this is the American way. Wear a mask, be sensible, be sensitive to everyone. Parang ganun.
Oh,
So,
okay.
although alam ko, these two guys are friends.
Mhm.
Oh, they are. Okay.
But,
okay.
I guess ideologically, they're on opposing sides.
Yeah, different spectrums.
Yeah. Christopher
Here we
Lee,
go.
Democrat.
This or that.
I'm a cat person. I love
Just
cats.
like John Joe, man. I don't know what it is. Iken, I don't know. Can you fall in love with cats? I'm just not a cat person.
Because
I guess
dogs-
maybe because they just
Dogs-
you know what I mean. I find them
The cats that
sweet.
act like dogs, yeah.
Dogs eat comics and they chew on toys. You don't want that.
You know, it's unfair, John Joe. You picked a really bad picture of a dog.
Dog, yeah, I did. That's intentional.
I
Because
can see.
Cats are low maintenance. You leave them there, they'll be fine without you.
I don't know,
Yeah.
but I find them sneaky. You know what I mean? They're just, you know what I mean?
Well, they are. If you watch them, when they're about to pounce on their prey, there's a system to it. You can learn from that.
No, but you know what? My sister loves cats, and when we went to see her cat, remember that weekend in Canada, dude, it was so fast. her name was Onyx, right? Black cat, but it was just huge. I'm like, what the hell? What happened to Garfield? Okay, this or that.
What's that? Salt and pepper.
Yeah.
This I choose salt.
Oh,
I
okay,
love salt.
interesting. I'm sure John Joe would pick pepper.
No, actually, on this time around, I wouldn't pick pepper because salt. If you add it with cocoa, if you have a hot chocolate, you put a little salt. The chocolate taste bursts in your mouth. It makes
Yes.
it enhances flavor.
Yes.
Yeah.
Diba?
Good point. Good point. Good point. Okay, this or that.
Political opinion.
Oh man.
Yeah, one's a badass and one talks well. It's a tough choice. After sauna,
Yeah, but it's get off my plane versus today we celebrate our Independence Day. Oh man, this is tough. I liked Bill Pullman's character in Independence Day, and Harrison Ford's a badass. Tough
It's
choice.
hard.
Tough
Huh?
choice.
It's a tough choice.
well,
I-
you can consider Independence Day resurgence as part of this image.
oh shoot. No, I'm not. Independence Day Resurgence is not part of my canon. I'm
Okay.
sticking. As far as I'm concerned, that did not exist. So,
Okay.
factoring that in, I will choose Bill Pullman because a proper president that can rally people.
Okay. Okay. Makes sense. Okay.
Yeah, and
You're
resurgence.
you're really very political. Huh? You sure you're not like you don't have any ambition for office?
Well, I think 8 years ago, I was actually invited to run by some party list. It was after I got viral for being embroiled with a certain politician's family. Because
Oh.
let's just say I got bullied by people from that family, and the screen caps that I posted went viral because at the time the politician was also in the news for messing up. So
Okay.
anyway, when all those things went viral, a party list messaged me, "Hey, you want to represent us? Because we're about internet freedom and open access, blah 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 blah. Be a representative in Congress." Here's the thing, I cannot stand 3-hour Mancom meetings.
Okay.
What more spending 14 hours in Congress?
Mhm.
So I
That's
said nope.
good
But
choice.
this is one thing I want to bring up though about the comic book community and ToyCon and cosplay.
Mm,
Adrian, you've been my guest on my podcast before,
yeah.
and one thing that comes up all the time, boss, is politics. There
Yes.
will always be politics. Like there is a DC Philippines, and then there's a DC. But there's like two different DC groups, different cosplayers. They
And
don't get
each
together.
one's trying to outdo the other and saying we're the
Yep.
original,
Yeah.
we're this, we're that. Yeah,
Even
man.
even conventions. So
Yep,
you'll
yep.
have this particular convention on the right, and then this particular convention on the left. And when one or the other convention is happening, the people on the other side are talking shit about the other
Oh,
on
for
their
sure.
Yeah.
pages and publicly. It's a
Yeah.
pissing contest.
Which leads us back to that conversation earlier on about tribes, excuse me, and all that. It can get very tribal in the geek community.
I could imagine. I could imagine,
Because
man.
it's all about who gets the better exposure. In a sense, a lot of it is social climbing.
Dude,
So who
I've
gets more
learned,
perks? Who
you
gets
know, exactly, because I've seen this in craft beer. I've seen this in
Yeah.
craft spirits. I mean, there's all this schism here. This guy belonged to this, and he
Yeah.
put up his own, and that, and who has the most followers. Oh my God!
Yeah,
It's
even
not-
my group, the Rebel Legion, sometimes, I hear talk, when people talk shit about us. Kasi parang, because we're tied with Lucasfilm, or we have a close association with Lucasfilm and Disney. So, there's, may people saying, mga pa-rockstar kami because we always get the dressing rooms in events. When we demand this, we get it. But that's what happens when your group is based on, in our case, movie accuracy, and we do have a relationship with Lucasfilm. Uh, inversely, minsan there are people from, well, certain people from my group that feel, oh yeah, we're the hot shots because we're affiliated with Lucasfilm. So when there are
Oh.
people who improvise their Star Trooper outfits with foam, for example, or have less than stellar looking costumes, may mga people that tend to, look down on.
Don't look down. Yeah.
It's kind of like the band scene. How some bands are sponsored and some aren't.
Some are.
Yeah.
Once sponsored are more often than not looked as assholes. But it's
Okay,
just
well,
it's a result of hard work. Oh, speaking of bands,
That's why. Okay, so this or that.
Oh gosh. Wait. Where did you get this guy on the right? Wait, he looks familiar.
I
Why
don't
does
know.
he look like a cosplayer I know from Singapore?
Oh, maybe.
I don't know, man. John Joe gave me this.
I
I don't
downloaded.
know.
I googled sad emo boy. That's what came out.
He looks like my friend Alex from Singapore, who's also a Star Wars cosplayer. So, I've worn both
Well,
hairdos at different points in my life.
yeah, I knew that.
Yeah.
That's why it's there. Which do you
So-
prefer?
It's like the Joe Dirt or the New Wave flock of seagulls.
Yeah, shout out Theo Vaughn.
Yeah. I'll choose that. I'll choose the one on the right because I miss
Okay.
having a full head of hair.
Yeah. Oh, don't talk about hair, man.
Yeah.
And lastly, this or that. I mean, you've got to pick a drink. Is it beer or is it whiskey? Just to let you know, they're cousins, right? They're both,
Right.
they're both made from barley, and most
Uh-huh.
of them, right? So it's like you've got beer fermented, and then you've got the whiskey, which is distilled beer. So if you had a choice, this or that.
Well, I've tried both. I've done both. I choose beer because beer's more chill
Yeah.
and
Good
comfortable.
choice. Good
Yeah.
choice.
Of course, some say whiskey would be more manly, but I like how chill beer is.
For the convention, for example, next year when the convention begins, which would you rather have served? Spirits or beers? What do you think the market would enjoy? Because we can already position crows
Yes,
I feel like they
yes,
for Nerd Fest
yes.
next year.
That's the thing. Parang not a lot of there. not a lot of geeks are that outgoing.
Mhm.
There's a segment of the geek community that loves going to gigs, loves going out, goes to these events, and they tend to be beer drinkers. I'm not sure about spirits. No, maybe a smaller minority. I think
Uh-huh.
there's gonna be more geeks that would do beer.
Yeah, most
Mm.
likely. I would
But
think
again,
so.
it's a small segment of a bigger one.
Yeah.
Because years ago I tried bringing the geek community together with the band scene by having I used to hold these Star Wars parties in Millennia Cafe and Hard Rock Cafe back in the early 2000s. There's that, and I've seen a lot of drunk geeks and nerds because of that. And also when we used to organize this event back in 2014 to 2016 called NextCon, in 2014 we had bands there. One thing I realized is that geeks are not the geek community and the music loving community don't always mesh well together.
Uh-huh.
Um, I'd see more geeks drink beer than actually watch bands because geeks are introverts, so they'd rather be in their computer enjoying different aspects of pop culture.
And they're
Chances are
more,
they
I noticed yeah, exactly. Introverts, they like their knowledge, they take pleasure in learning more
yeah
and dealing with other geeks and exchanging ideas and information, right?
yeah.
Yeah.
There's only a few of people. There's only a few people like me and John Joe who are
The
both
cool
geeks
geeks.
that actually go to
Oh,
gigs or play
yeah.
gigs. Although I
There
know
are
a
a
lot
lot.
of
There are a lot of musicians who are
yes,
geeks and
that's true.
collectors. A lot.
Yeah.
A lot. And ano nga eh, well, si Kevin Rice a frequent geekery customer. There's
Yep.
that.
That's why his bar was called the Last Home, because
Uh,
in Dungeons and Dragons,
right,
the
right.
the pub, the bar where people would drink was called the
Yeah,
Last Home.
yeah.
Oh,
And one of the
okay.
people in the 501st Legion that dress up as Darth Vader in the most movie accurate way is Buddy Arceo of Identity Crisis. So when
Oh.
he works as a flight attendant now, but when he's in Manila and there's an event like APCC or ToyCon and he's here, if you see a Darth Vader with a swishing cape, that chances are that's Buddy Arceo.
Wow.
But there's a
Wow.
lot of musicians in a lot of groups.
Yeah,
In
a
the Rebel
lot.
Legion, there's Nino Alejandro, who's doing that. And
It
well, to be
must be
honest,
so damn hot inside one of those,
oh
right? After
yeah,
a while, you're like sweating bullets, man.
when you remove the Darth Vader helmets, literally may pawis just coming out,
For
pouring out of the
sure.
helmet.
For sure. I can
Yeah,
imagine, man. I
yeah.
mean, John Joe, you should use that. Oh, look at that.
It's not so hot.
I don't know whether to call you Batman or Zorro.
Oh, when the beard is
The
out.
stash. Yeah, dude, with the stash,
It's
pal.
like bat pubes.
Yeah.
I love it though. It looks really cool.
I
Hey,
want to see John Joe without the beard wearing that mask. I want to see his jawline for real.
oh, for a movie, man.
Yeah, I wanna see that. You know, seriously, John Joe, shave it once, wear the bat cowl. I just want to see your jawline, how it
If
fits.
I
See if
shave, you'll
it,
see
if
my
he's
double
got it.
chin. It's not gonna happen.
Hey, well, that's all the time we've got, Adrian. Hey,
All
thanks
right.
for meeting you, man. I would really appreciate all the stuff you've shared with us. I mean, there's so many things I know that we have to learn, but you know, it's a good tip of the iceberg to just know all about this whole geek community and what's out there. And we'll share your links in the description, so when people want to know more about this or even want to buy some of these stuff, you have them, right? Why not?
Yeah, yeah.
Hey, thank you so much,
Thank
buddy.
you. Thank you so much for having me. It's my
Cheers,
pleasure.
bud.
Awesome.
Cheers.
Cheers, man.
Water.
I can't wait for the new Batman movie to come out.
Oh yeah.
Twilight Batman.
Battinson.
Yeah. That's
Bye,
it.
guys.
Cheers, guys.
Cheers.
Cheers. Thanks for having me.